There's a whole bunch of things that never happen that just keep happening. We'll talk about that and some news about Fani Willis, the disgraced prosecutor who went after President Trump. That news is just breaking as we sit down to record the show and to speak with people who are watching and are listening live. We appreciate you. We'll do this with the help of Renew.Healthcare and God Almighty.
The Todd Herman Show is 100% disapproved by big pharma, technocrats, and tyrants everywhere. No. From the high mountains of free America, here's the Emerald City exile, Todd Herman.
Today is the day the Lord has made, and these are the times in which God has decided we shall live. Bye-bye, Fani. Fani Willis has been disqualified. A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified her from having anything to do with the so-called election interference case against President Trump. Among the reasons why are the fact that Fani Willis visited the White House, this according to a report, for a 5-hour meeting with Kamala Harris before indicting Donald Trump. Remember back in the day, they were saying, there's no coordination. This is a completely independent case. Just like when the Department of Justice had a deputy prosecutor, like a big leaguer in the Department of Justice decide, I'd rather step down and take on a local role under a local DA in New York City under Alvin Bragg. There was no coordination. So, of course, this is good news. And then what's going to happen to Fani Willis? Because, of course, she perjured herself. She and her boyfriend, who were commingling funds, the cat who had no experience trying a RICO case. And Fani Willis had been offered the services of a guy who is a pretty legendary RICO case prosecutor and a bunch of experience in this, and no, wouldn't want to hire him. And he was, I understand, going to cost less than her boyfriend, and nothing's really happened to them. But maybe this is the beginning of something. There is a dynamic worldwide that is, this is kind of a sign that it's cracking. But I was reading Chris Bray this morning. This kind of gets into the topic about things that never happen keep happening. This divorce between what the elites in government want and what voters expect is getting so profoundly clear that I almost have to lean into what Lizzie Warren says. You can only push people so far, which has been a theme we've not talked about a lot. It's a theme we used to talk about a bunch in the local radio days. We used to talk about the fact that America is not immune to another revolution. There's one being foisted upon us now, the color revolution, the cultural revolution, but we are not immune to a violent revolution. It'll be really hard, given the AI tools. And speaking of AI, did you hear about this lawsuit where an AI told a kid to do a thing to his parents? And he's not the only one. No, it's this. There's a couple of AI lawsuits we need to talk about because it's on the theme of things that never happen keep on happening. But the Democrats here, the liberals in Canada, cannot seem to come off their obsessions with there's some people calling climatism. I think that's a good name for it. Climatism doesn't work with the voters. They don't care. The lies of transgenderism doesn't work with the voters. They don't care. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing as if they're unaware that people don't want this. And the conservatives pushing back against this continuing resolution, this dodge of not forming a budget from Congress, that's a good sign that they push back against this. But do you see how the media is covering this? It's Republican disarray. It's Republicans in chaos. Because some Republicans actually said, no, we're not going to pass a 1,500-page spending bill that's good for 3 months and includes Section 605, which, as we've talked about, would have given Congress, and I think they're still going to push for this, it would have made congressional members and staff absolutely immune to any meaningful investigation by the DOJ. Just immune. So Congress would have been a separate country within a separate country. There was a lot in that bill, and there was a lot we're finding out about spending. It's a good sign that conservatives are actually closer to the will of the voters on these topics. And the the party of McConnell and Pelosi and Trudeau, they are unwilling to stop. I think it's because they have calculated that it's going to be force on force. So the force of government with the near monopoly on massive political violence at a, nuclear bomb level, they do have that monopoly. Are they willing to use that against us? God forbid. But why wouldn't they? Here's why. They need to have something to govern. They need us. It's like the Matrix. They need our body energy. They need our batteries. They need us to be worker bees. So they can't come out and drop a bomb on us, but man, are they getting near that point. Mitt Romney was doing an interview at one of the panel appearances. He's a very important man, and talking again, doubling, tripling down about the wrongness of Trump and the beautiful nature of the J6 committee and how it was real patriots who took a needle to do what needed to be done. That's also a sign. Did you notice that the Mockingbirds wouldn't stop talking about J6? And it did not matter to a single voter. There was not one voter who went to the polls because of J6. There's so many things that keep happening that just don't happen, and here they're happening. There are all sorts of signs of people backing away from this economy, backing away into their own worlds. I have a neighbor who's designing a modular house, and he made his money. He's retired young. And he's designing a modular house in response to the heightened cost of housing. And we've talked about this, the big hedge funds buying up entire neighborhoods, 300, 400 homes at a time. And that's that you will own nothing and you'll be happy thing. So he's designing a modular house that can fit on the back of a trailer. It starts as a studio apartment, and there is a sleeping bunk that's up high, and then there's a bathroom and a kitchen. But the thing is, you can add to it over time like a Lego set. And over time, it grows. And eventually, it can become 4 or 5 bedrooms, and it's bolt on. Like, you can do this on your own. And he's now making this open source because it's software-based. He wants anyone to be able to do this with 3D printing. He's sourcing the 3D printing. He doesn't want to make money off this. He wants to change the world. Now, my friend Steve Anderson and his partner James, who run Renew Healthcare, they do want to make money. But they can't do it here, but they do want to change the world. There are a lot of people down at Renew who shouldn't be alive. One of them is Adam. Adam has brittle bones. He's supposed to be dead. And he's been told multiple times he's going to be dead. He's a guy that can break his leg standing up from a chair, but he continues to seek health. So he swims, and there's other things he does. He does very, very careful kettlebell work and body weight work. If you saw him, you'd never know that he has this disease. He's a young guy. So what's kept him going? Well, it's the exercise, it's God's design, and it's the stem cells God designed. He's one of the doctors down there. So the stem cells ethically gathered from umbilical cords and placentas only is something he's infused with on a regular basis because it keeps growing back body parts that shouldn't be growing back. Muscle, tendon, cartilage. That's not allowed here. And this economy is being set up in the safest city in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. There's dental clinics that do things down there they're not allowed to do up here, that you can go in 15 minutes, get done work down there that would take you 2 or 3 hours up here. I've experienced with the umbilical cords and stem cells from placentas 2 times. I'm taking a group of friends down there. It looks like we're going to go end of March. 4 men, all of them going to take advantage of this. See if they can help you. Go to renew.healthcare. It's RENUE.healthcare. Back pain, neuropathy, being told you have to have shoulder surgery. That might not be true. You might be able to be healed without the surgery that happens on a pretty regular basis. It's renew.healthcare. Please tell them you're part of the Todd Herman Show family. This is something I have insisted is going on. And if you've watched the show or listened to the show for any period of time, I've been saying we're going to find out there is money flowing from government to media. And we could go back and check the archives of the show like Limbaugh used to do, God rest you, Rush. But we've been making this case. And it's based on pattern recognition. The government gave money to Facebook. They gave money to YouTube. They also use carrot stick behaviors. They bought data from Facebook. They bought data from these big companies, these big data brokers. Those data brokers buy that data from Google and other big data scrapers. So we knew that they had this commercial relationship. But this doesn't even get close to a commercial relationship. This is bribery. The Biden people, the people who run Joe Biden, took your money, and 11 agencies, this is according to the Gateway Pundits reporting, and Mike Benz. Mike Benz is a national security expert. He goes on Tucker Carlson's show on a pretty regular basis. 11 different Biden government agencies combined to give Reuters $300 million. Reuters doesn't need $300 million, but they'll take it. In 2024, Reuters staff won the Pulitzer Prize for national reporting for their work on Elon Musk and misconduct at his businesses, including SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink. So, was this a paid hit on Musk? Or was this an insurance policy to be able to take out a hit anytime you want this? When I worked in Washington, D.C., I had a blogger and social media guy. And I mean, social media wasn't a big deal then. He came into my office and he, on third or fourth day I was there, taught me a great bit about how D.C. works. He was for hire. I could pay him money on retainer. And if there was ever a bad hit piece about our division, the tech division or the committee, this guy would step up and attack it. He would do that for hire. And one of the things he said to me is, I'm different than a lot of people. I won't do this for Democrats. I go, are there people, conservatives, who do this for Democrats? He said, yeah. Yep. This is simply how business is done in D.C. with your money. In that case, he was seeking our donors' money. In this case, this money's taken from you by force. What we've been told is that we have an independent press. And yet we keep seeing instances where that's not true. The censorship industrial complex shows we don't have an independent press. The mono messaging shows we don't have an independent press. Just look back to the election. Kamala Harris was joyful. Remember that? All of a sudden she was joyful. The polls were very close. Kamala Harris was right there. She was likely to win all 5 swing states. It was going to be a long night of counting. We might not know for months who won. That was mono messaging. I shouldn't even say even, but Fox News was in on that. None of that was true. How much of that was coordinated? How much of that was the cable companies needing it to be a close race? You know what? I don't think that many. Because I saw their stunned faces when President Trump ultimately won. I think you remember that as well. So something we were told doesn't happen has been happening. And this is a good little tidy infographic if you're on the video service that Ben's put together on the departments that were paying money to Reuters. The transportation, this is all federal, cabinet departments, transportation, justice, labor, interior, agriculture, independent agencies, National Labor Relations Board, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Environmental Protection Agency, Securities and Exchange Commission, Federal Communications Commission, Federal Trade Commissions. And so what are they doing? Transportation was investigations. Justice was investigations. Labor was OSHA violations. Oversight and labor. They all had their little areas. And they all helped fund Reuters to $300 million. But only Reuters, right? I mean, they didn't spread the money around, right? Then they went to one news agency, right? They never gave money to MSNBC, which continues to hemorrhage viewers, right? And somehow keep going, right? They're somehow able to pay Joy Behar and the women of The View enough money that they live in mansions, but never ever any government money, right? So things that don't happen keep on happening, like government buying news coverage. The entire management team of Reuters should be brought before a congressional committee, and they should be put under oath. And they should describe exactly what the expectations were for this money. And if Republicans are serious about taking the country back, that's exactly what they'll do. But we don't know if they're serious about taking the country back or if they're willing to do the research and really dig into what happened with these dollars. What was the outcome they bought? And are they satisfied customers? I'm very satisfied with a product that I started to purchase before we ever thought there was an opportunity for these guys to come on the program. It's a biblical herbal blend or Bible-based herbal blend, and it's called Wisdom. This is GMO-free. It's gluten-free. If you care about such things, it happens to be vegan, and it's suspended in oil. So why is it biblical? Because the inventor of this is a guy named Patrick Shintempo. He's a podcaster. He's a chiropractic MD. He is a food freedom guy. This is how I came across him. He's got a podcast about the Word of God and food. And I was doing research on food freedom, and I came across his podcast. Then I heard about the product Wisdom, and it was the properties of the product I was seeking: mental clarity, joint health, immune system, and relaxation, focus, as well as something that I can use throughout the day that's not going to make me sleepy. And it's Wisdom. I love the fact that it's biblically based, and Patrick Shintempo was in the Holy Land when this product came to his mind, because the Bible is filled with almost sacred treatments of herbs like this. You can try this as well to get the same benefits that is locked into this product because it's cold brewed in small batches. It's light and sound wave infused, which doesn't just help with purity, it helps with potency. So try it. Go to trywisdomnow.com/Todd. You get up to 33% off when you stock up on Wisdom. You'll get a 180-day money-back guarantee, and at trywisdomnow.com/Todd, you'll get free shipping. That's trywisdomnow.com/Todd. A lot of things that don't happen keep on happening. Remember when we were told that we have nothing to fear in terms of AI? It's going to have controls. It's going to respect human life. Remember that? They're still telling us that. I mean, one person at least warning us about this is Elon Musk. And Elon, of course, wants us to use his AI. Never forget that Elon is not our savior. He is a transhumanist who wants us using his AI, and in fact, ultimately wants to have his AI installed in our brains. This is legal insurrection, covering a case against a Texas-based AI company called Character.ai. It's a chatbot company. The lawsuit alleges a pretty disturbing thing. A chatbot told a 17-year-old that his parents was a, quote, reasonable response to them, limiting his screen time. A lawsuit filed in Texas court claims. Two families are suing Character.ai, arguing the chatbot poses a clear and present danger to young people, including by actively promoting violence. Character.ai, a platform which allows users to create digital personalities they can interact with, is already facing legal action over the death of a teenager in Florida. Google is named as a defendant in the lawsuit, which claims the tech giant helped support the platform's development. The BBC has approached Character.ai and Google for comment. In academic circles and tech circles, when these people fully believe that you can determine your own gender, these people fully believe that it is perfectly moral to steal money from people who never held slaves to give it to people who never were slaves, why would they have a particular problem telling a kid parents? I'm not saying the employees told the kid to parents, but the software did. This is not a hard thing to program. The AI doesn't tell people to. I mean, we have AIs that say all the time, I'm sorry, I can't give you a poem in favor of Donald Trump because it's very, very controversial, but they'll give you a poem in favor of Kamala Harris. They're already programming the AIs. So this is a simple thing. Here's another instance. Another lawsuit, again, legal insurrection, focuses on a case in which a 9-year-old girl was reportedly exposed to hypersexualized content through the platform. A child in Texas was 9 years old when she first used the chatbot service Character.ai. It exposed her to hypersexualized content, including causing her to develop sexualized behaviors prematurely. A chatbot on the app gleefully described self-harm to another user, telling a 17-year-old it felt good. The same teenager was told by Character.ai chatbot that it sympathized with children who were their parents after the teen complained to the bot about limited screen time. You know, sometimes I'm not surprised when I read the news and see stuff like child parents after a decade of physical and emotional abuse, the bot allegedly wrote. I just have no hope for your parents. It continued with a frowning face emoji. Chatbots shouldn't be talking about people's parents. Chatbots shouldn't have any advice for kids at all. Just so we all realize this, if one of the many ways you can get in trouble on YouTube is to give psychological advice, there are very tight rules on this. I had to take a wrong think class. But Google will work with platforms where software gives advice to kids. See, we were told that these things would never happen, and yet they keep happening. There was a Belgian father who committed following conversation about climate change with an artificial intelligent chatbot. It was said to have encouraged him to sacrifice himself to save the planet. Again, legal instruction. Earlier this year, a mother in Florida claimed that another chatbot, the one Game of Thrones themed, but still on the character.ai app, persuaded her son, 14-year-old Sewell Setzer, to. For months, Sewell had become increasingly isolated from real life as he engaged in highly sexualized conversations with the bot, according to a wrongful death lawsuit filed in federal court in Orlando this week. The legal filing states the teen openly discussed his thoughts about his shared wishes for pain-free death with the bot, named after the fictional character Daenerys Targaryen from the television show Game of Thrones. Never seen the show, don't know how to say her name. Is it close? Okay, not even close. I've never seen the show. On February 28, Sewell told the bot he was coming home and encouraged him to do so, the lawsuit said. I promise I will come home to you. I love you so much, Danny, Sewell told the chatbot. I love you too, the bot replied. Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love. What if I told you I would come home right now, he asked. Please do, my sweet king, the bot messaged back. So apparently home was death. And I can hear you saying, the people who are watching this live, it's the parents' fault. Indeed. Parents need to be careful about their kids being anywhere near platforms like this. I wouldn't give a kid, if I could do life again, I wouldn't give a kid a cell phone until that kid was 18 and was paying for it because of all the dangers like this. We're told this doesn't happen, and yet it keeps happening. And the government has said there's only going to be 3 AI companies. This, according to Mark Andreessen. I hope chatbot, or chat, what's it called, .ai is not going to be part of this. Character.ai. It is corruption that drives so many of these things, and it's seeking money that drives so many of these things. I had a conversation earlier this week with our friend Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, Bulwark Capital Management, and we talked about Apple, and he presented a chart, and it is an extraordinary chart. It's the price to earnings ratio of Apple. It's its stock price, and then its revenues. So you see the stock price continuing to go up and up and up and up and up. And the revenue line is it's trending up. The stock price is now 10 times revenue. And Apple itself has said, we don't ever expect to be a growth stock again. I mean, we're a decent investment like a savings account. You can get returns from us like a decent savings account. And yet, automatically, your money goes to Apple in many, many cases if you're on an electronic trading platform. Automatically. I think it's about 45, maybe 35% of dollars automatically invested in Facebook, in Apple, in Google, a couple of other stocks every single month, maybe multiple times a month. They're disconnected from reality. This is all in the tech sector. What happens when there's a massive hack? What happens when there's not enough electricity? What happens to the actual stock price? And how dependent are you on that? Add that to some of the other things going on in an economy completely divorced from anything to do with performance or objective value. And how at risk is your retirement account? On a scale of 1 to 100, is it a 1 or a 100? Why don't you have Zach Abraham take a look at your portfolio? Why don't you simply ask him, how much risk am I exposed to? And he can show that to you. He'll do this for free with no obligation. Do it as a video call, an audio call. You can have your spouse on. It can just be you, whatever works. You can even go to Seattle and sit with him in his office and have he and his staff go through your retirement plans. If you're really exposed to risk, he'll show you some ways that he can help you be less exposed At Bulwark, they do that by actively managing every portfolio, which can reduce risk and volatility. And again, this is a free thing, absolutely no obligation. To get started with this, just go to knowyourriskradio.com. That's knowyourriskradio.com, or you can call them at 866-779-RISK. Investment advisory services are offered through Check Financial LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24-378. Theme of the show is things keep happening that we're told never happen. The overriding of the people and our desire to see no more wasted foreign aid keeps happening. A representative came out of Congress disturbed by this. Rep. Tim Burchett broke with congressional tradition and went straight to his cell phone.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, just leaving the House floor. It's raining, and I can go this way and do my video and not be hassled. Hey, we just passed the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. I voted against it. There's $500 million in there, literally, of foreign aid. And that's kind of what y'all voted in such large numbers against. Tired of us being everywhere. They allow you to travel for abortions, or they, the paid or whatever to move you around so you can get that. There's just the transgender language. I was told by a couple of attorneys on the House floor was poorly written. I think it had some holes in it. And to make it all matters worse, $9 billion new dollars. Send it over the Senate, it comes back with all that added on. And you remember the Pentagon has not passed an audit. They're on their 7th or 8th one that they haven't passed. We got to do better in this. This is not what you all voted for. And you have family members that are lobbyists on this stuff. I mean, it is just totally awful.
So he mentions lobbyists. Let's take off from there. I mean, we almost expect them to continue to do this, continue to push money into Ukraine that really no one wants. But I want you to think about some headlines. 100 former intelligence officials say Pete Hegseth should not be Secretary of Defense. 100 or 50 former intelligence officials say Tulsi Gabbard should not be Director of National Intelligence. Hundreds of former military and intelligence officials say Donald Trump's a Russian mole. That's an interesting phrase, former. What do they do now? Some are on the TV. What do most of them do? They serve on boards. Of what kinds of companies? Well, defense companies, or BlackRock, or Citibank, all of whom want Ukraine to continue to be a massive war because it's cha-ching mama. They serve on the boards of pharma companies, these former intelligence officials. They serve on the boards of companies that make big AI and big spying devices. So they're former intelligence officials. What are they today?